What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So, big things are upon us. We've got the version update 5.2 5.0 coming very soon. This is going to be the major, massive, basically Dokkan 2 overhaul that we are all so excited for. So it looks like the dev team released some additional information about what kind of stuff is going to be coming in Dokkan 2. Obviously, these screenshots posted here are things that we saw during the live stream where they first revealed that all these UI changes were going to be coming. And then there's a little video that we can go ahead and check out on their Twitter. We'll do that in just a moment. But yeah, it'll be cool. We'll be able to get to see some moving images of what the in-battle screens are going to look like. We'll talk about a few of the key important details. And then what's actually going to make this video different than probably the other 1,000 videos on YouTube about this exact concept is that afterward, after I go over the various changes that we can expect to see, I'm also going to talk about a bunch of different things that I am hoping to see, changes that I've wanted to see come into the game for a long time, and with the massive UI overhaul of the game that's going to be happening, I think a lot of these are going to be really relevant things that they should and could address now. So. Because it is really important to note that while they have given us some information about the battle screens and all this stuff and what it's actually like when you're taking on new content and stuff, they haven't really showed us what navigating the game is going to be like, and if they are planning to make any changes to the menus and things like that, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and check out their little Twitter video real quick. So I think at first here, we'll just let it play all the way through. There's already a couple of things that I've noticed. I guess try and keep your eyes peeled for different parts of the screen, because there are some different things that have been slightly changed or majorly changed. Overall, though, just at a glance, I would say I like it better. I think it has a more modern look to it. Just a lot of the basic animations and stuff, even with normal attacks, like what we're seeing here. It looks like characters are going to start getting more in-depth, normal attacks, which is really nice. It's just going to help the battle screen look a little bit more flavorful throughout fights. Okay. Yeah, new loading screen there with the Goku on Nimbus. All right, cool. So it looks like the result screen is going to look about the same and things like that. Okay, not bad. Okay. So let's go ahead and start back at the beginning, and then there's a couple of things that I want to address. Okay, so the very first thing, this is the biggest portion of all of the new stuff that they're giving us here. The biggest thing is down in the bottom right here. The character wheel is gone. This is the biggest detail that everyone's talking about. Now, a lot of people are freaking out because they're saying the fact that they got rid of the character wheel, there's a few things that are affected, right? One is when you first load into the fight right here on the map, you can't see all 7 characters, so you don't know who your slot 7 is. And a lot of the times it is relevant to just immediately reset in challenge content. Oh shoot, I forgot that I don't have my music playing. There we go. Okay. So yeah, a lot of the time, you're going to want to immediately reset in challenge content if you got the wrong unit in slot 7, right? That is a common strat that people use, and people are worried that you're not going to be able to do that now because you can only see the characters that are going to be, on your first turn, which means you would actually have to load into the fight before you're able to see who's going to be in slot 7, because at that point you would see the next 3, if we play the video here. Okay, so right here is where you would see who's in slot 7, because it shows you all 7 of your characters in... this actually isn't in the right order. I'm noticing now because Chaozu was listed up here because he's going to be in turn 1. So yeah, version Z Goku, Piccolo and Gohan, and then Krillin, they're not, that's just the leaders. So those just showed the order that you set up the team. And then once you load into battle here, now you can see the 3 that were sitting there on the map are our indicator of our first turn, and then now we can see the next 3. So now that we've been given a visual for 6 of our characters, at this point we know what the 7th character is. Now the reason that this is a problem, and it's not just a nuisance to have to go a little bit farther into the battle before you can find out whether it's a dead run or not. The reason this is actually a problem is because of support memories. Support memories are something that commonly, you know, the most common ones that you're going to use, aside from like the life-saving ones that give you healing at some point in the fight, usually it's ones that are going to be boosting the stats of a specific category. If you're using that on a category that, you know, is relevant that you're actually using, then that means at the beginning of the very first turn of the start of the fight, the support memory is going to activate. So if they had like a Saiyan Saga buffing support memory here, that would have activated at the beginning of this, and then you find out what your slot 7 character is, decide that it's not the right rotations to start the fight, and then you have to quit out, but you just lost all those reels from activating your support memory, right? So there are little nuanced things like that, why this is actually a problem. One thing that people have not given enough attention to, I think, is the fact that because they are going to be changing the way all of this works, these things might be like interactable in a different way, right? So it always was possible before to click on the character wheel and then open up a list and you could see all like 7 characters listed in a row. I'm assuming you'll still be able to do the same thing with this down here in the bottom right corner. But there's also a menu button up here in the top right. And so what I'm thinking is because, you know, previously the way it works in battle, oh, this is actually perfect. Let me, we're going to do a little bit of toggling back and forth here. We'll jump into Dokkan. So we can just make some comparisons to how things are versus how they used to be. Or how they're going to be, right? Okay. So yeah, obviously we've got the character wheel here. Now the character wheel has never been selectable. I am clicking on it right now. But obviously nothing's happening. You can't really access it until you're in battle. So let's go ahead and get in battle first. But yeah, I'm assuming that the, you know, little character icons in the bottom corner when you're on the map now should be a clickable thing. I'm thinking that that's the way it's going to be. I'll explain that again when I switch back over. Okay, so right here, now we can click on the character wheel. So the fact that you have the character wheel that's right here to be able to view all of the units on your team, and then you have this menu button that's like right next to it for, you know, going into your options and stuff. I do agree that this menu button is in a very cluttered spot, and there have been times in the past where I've accidentally clicked one or the other of those, right? So it is pretty good. And then also, if we take a look down here, the item button being there. So we just have like item, character wheel, and menu in this weird like 3 circles kind of all jammed in the corner type of thing. But then if we switch back and look over here, now we have the clean character slots at the very bottom. It looks like there's that big blue rectangle that you're actually going to be able to like select into. It looks like a button to me. And then above it, you have the big item button, so it's more out of the way. It's not just like in here right next to the auto buttons on and off. And then the menu button is now all the way up at the top. So that's really, really good. Because obviously, you know, this is where all of your like in-game action-y stuff that you're going to be using every single fight is. There's no reason that this menu button you're going to click like far less often needs to be cluttered in the way of all that stuff. So that's a very good change. I do like that. But yeah. So if we come back on here on the map, so this would be representative of like the map version of the character wheel, right? I'm assuming now that this is going to be actually clickable out here on the field. This is the big part that I feel like a lot of people are not addressing, that they're not like kind of getting. They're really, really worried about this slot 7 business. But I think as long as they made it so that you can click and open this and see all 7 of your characters as soon as you spawn in on the map, then we don't have an issue, right? Because you still have a way to actively see your entire rotation from the moment you pop into the fight. Okay, so that's basically everything for this. Obviously, the new versus screen looks cool. This is another piece that's decent. Obviously, this is just a slight UI update here. It's cool that now you can see all of the status effects that they can or can't be affected by. It's actually hard to say if these are the enemy abilities. Yeah. It looks like these are the things that they're capable of doing to you. So yeah, interesting stuff. They show that there. Obviously, for the, like, it is kind of unnecessary. I've always found this screen entirely unnecessary, especially because, like, I don't know, it flashes for like 2 seconds at the start of the fight. Look at all of these different status effects. Are you really expected to know in that amount of, like, how long does it actually play? Like, are you truly expected to know in that amount of time? Was that really supposed to give you any information at all? I think it's, like, kind of useless. Oh, wait. That was our characters. Okay, hold on. So it's not showing the enemy characters here anymore. It's just showing ours. Okay, so it's great. Even more useless because you already know what your own units do, right? Like, you don't need to be reminded by this little quick screen at the beginning of battle. I think this is actually really, really dumb that this screen exists. But whatever. It looks like they did shorten it a lot. Hopefully, where you have to sit through a million enemy screens because it shows you every single ability that every single enemy has individually. So if you're fighting 3 different enemies and they each have 4 abilities that are listed, then you're gonna look at this screen 12 times in a row and you have to keep clicking through it. I think that is gone at this point. At least I really, really hope that is gone. That's another big thing for me. That's gonna make it really, really quick getting through fights. Especially on auto, because the auto mode doesn't click through historically has not clicked through those screens quick enough. Okay, I think we did miss a little bit of nuance here. It looks like they're showing us some stuff as the characters swap around here. They're just showing all the animations that they can show us, right? Okay, so there was that was a neat little thing that I just noticed. Look at what happens here when they put Yamcha in the middle slot. When Yamcha's in the middle slot here, this Vegeta enemy that's attacking him actually gets a little arrow up symbol. So it's showing us that the enemy has type advantage over the person he's attacking. So in case you're not super familiar with the wheel, you can be reminded about that now. That's actually really good. I like that change. Interesting. Okay, another thing I was going to be on the lookout for was defense stats. It looks like only the attack stats are still available here. Yeah, awesome. I love that little up arrow. That's so good. Okay, and then obviously the key selection arrow is the key selection animation is really good now. That is super visual. It's very, very obvious to see which characters are selecting which things. Go ahead and pause real quick. So another really, really big thing that I enjoy is the percentage attached to the HP bar. Definitely a good change. This is going to help with a lot of characters' passives and stuff, especially because we know that the passive skills are going to be getting an update, right? To be looking very, very visually appealing, all bullet pointed it out and stuff. And I think that a lot of the things that used to have specific verbiage that was, just unique to Dokkan of high chance, great chance, medium chance, all of that stuff, I believe is now about to be displayed in a more percentage-based way. So with the percentage-based things going on in battle, it's going to be a lot easier to determine whether your abilities are actually activated and stuff. So very good. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on here. Looks like there's been some text updates here. It shows the little additional symbol when you actually do get an additional attack, making it a little bit more clear, actually what's going on for you. Looks like you can view attack stats the same way. Obviously, our stun and seal icons are going to still be there. KO screen looks a little bit different. Font changes there. So this is one thing. The fact that these menus at the end look exactly the same, like the clear on the map and stuff. Okay, obviously we have the new loading thing. It's no longer the Spirit Bomb Goku. It's now the Goku on Nimbus. But this entire screen, right? This entire screen looks exactly the same as it did before. We got rid of the little space background with the grid, with the warped grid behind it. And now we just have it looks like maybe they're going to be more unique to whatever battle stage you're on, because this looks like a reflection of the map that we were just playing on, right? So maybe if you're on a snow map, then the background here would be more snowy and stuff. I'm not sure, but that's a decent update. So it looks like they're giving you the result screen. It feels more like you're still in the battle versus you just went back to the home screen, right? So that's kind of neat. But all of the stuff that overlays on top of the background is exactly the same. So this is the one thing that makes me a little bit worried that part 2 of this video, what we're about to get into in a moment here, that a lot of this stuff is probably not going to come just because they didn't overhaul this, which is, I don't know. I'll rant a little bit more about it when it's relevant. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so yeah, all that stuff is looking the same. Okay, awesome. That's great. Okay, really quick, let's go ahead and jump back to this little update. So obviously we went over everything in this screenshot. We got more details in that video, but the passive skills are not listed in the video. So quickly, just want to briefly mention, in case you're not already aware, that the passive skills are going to be set up like this. This is version Z Goku's passive now. Obviously is, leagues better than it was. So, the way it's going to work now is you have the bold orange text at the top, which is the you know, the requirement in order to activate said skill, and then underneath is the bullet point list of all the skills that will be active. So it always starts with the start of turn stuff at the beginning, so you know exactly what they're going to have at start of turn, and then this is with, you know, key is 12 or higher, right? Like, with, whatever, like, these are all the different, like, activation conditions for the different things, right? So yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to interpret new kits, and then also to remind yourself throughout a fight, like, what's actually being activated, what more you need to do to activate further parts of the kit, and things like that. So yeah, this is a huge and much needed change. Very, very glad that this is coming. Okay, so now let's go ahead and switch back to the game. And then I want to go over a couple of things here. So some of it's just going to be verbal, just me talking. I would be link leveling, but I think that there's a couple of things that I'm actually going to have to step away and show, like, a specific place in Dokkan and, like, visually, verbally talk about what I'm meaning with whatever change. Okay, so I've got a list of about 25 different changes that I want to see come to the game, and I think that with this Dokkan 2 update would be the absolute perfect time to see them. So the very first thing that I want to see is an update with the Easy 8 areas. So the first thing that I will actually mention is that I hate Easy 8 areas to begin with. I think that they're like a really kind of troll event. I do like regular Easy A's because you don't have to keep count of anything. While you're doing the Easy A, you just know the final stage that you have to play, and then you just play mindlessly until then. You don't have to pay attention to, like, the currency you're farming. You don't have to pay attention to the medals that you're getting. You just Easy A the character, and then it's done, right? And I feel like it's, you know, obviously, like, oh, when you're doing a Dokkan event, if you want to get the right amount of medals to Dokkan Awaken whatever character, you're going to have to manually keep count. Well, that makes sense, because there are different characters that require a different amount of Dokkan medals in order to awaken, right? Full Dokkan Fest, full brand new, like, headlining Dokkan Fests have 77 medals in order to awaken. Then banner units only have 35 medals to awaken. There's some ancient units and things like that that require random amounts of medals, like 7 or something like that, right? And then, you know, there's also, like, LRs that have a various amount of medals for different things. So Dokkan events, it doesn't really make sense. But with Easy A's, you always have the exact same number of medals. It's going to be 15 bronze, 40 silver, and then 30 gold and 30 rainbow. That is always true for, like, a main Easy A. The only time it's different is when it's 12, 20, 12, 12, and that's for sub Easy A's that they release onto Extreme Z battles that already exist, right? But that's never true for Easy A areas, for, like, those free-to-play Easy A's. Those are always 15, 40, 30, 30 medals, so I see no reason why, when you load into an Easy A area, you have to jump in on the map and sit there for the 30 minutes you're grinding the stage over and over and manually keep count of how many runs you've done so that you know exactly how many medals you need. Because if you haven't fully memorized the 15, 40, 30, 30 thing, then you're just going to be getting random packs of medals and not even knowing, like, how many more you need, right? And with the way that they have condensed Easy A Awakening, where you can now just do all 7 steps of the Awakening in one click, it's really annoying that the only foolproof way to double check whether you've gotten the medals or not is to go in and try and awaken the character, which means for, like, less experienced players, you probably are sitting there grinding the event a little bit, seeing if you have enough, going in, you know, spending time and resources awakening the character to do it partial of the way, and then realize you still need more medals and have to go back in, right? Like, it's just, that's such an ancient Dokkan thing. That's the kind of thing that we had to, that's the kind of thing that goes well with this OST. Thank you very much, Yajirobe. Yeah, that behavior, my goodness, we need to see that updated. We need to see that updated. So, okay, get out of here, Yajirobe. Oh my goodness. So yeah, definitely would like to see some updates with that. It would be really cool if there was, you know, maybe a mission for... I think the problem is when you get those boosted runs, because then it means that there's a different amount of times you could have to run it in order to get the medals that you need, right? I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder, like... You know what would be... Okay, here's what would be really cool. Here's what would be really cool. If, let's say there was a system, like, where they added a currency for Easy A areas, and then they added a section in the shop. So it would emulate similar to, like, where are they at here? I think I passed them. To, like, this. The Satan signatures, right? You're not actually getting a straight up currency that's like going to allow you to, I mean, and granted the Satan signatures, I mean, I guess it is for medals for these, right? So instead of grinding an actual event that's allowing you to get the medals, you're just grinding whatever stage is giving you these Satan signatures, and then beyond that, you just go and buy the medals here. I kind of like that better. I think that that's a better idea. I mean, obviously then, yeah, technically still you have to keep track of the amount of Satan signatures that you're farming and stuff, but they could set it up as a way of like, oh, a new EZA area came out, farm the EZA area entirely, and then by the time you're done, the missions will have given you enough copies of the medals to EZA the character one time. Okay, great. And the missions are even going to tell you how many times you need to clear the stage, so you don't have to sit there and think if you have enough medals. You just do it until the missions are done, and then there you go. Now you have the medals that you need. And then on top of that, you get a bunch of this currency as well. And if you were to continue to grind the event further, you would get more of this currency, which allows you to buy duplicates of the medals in the shop. So if you ever wanted, so that you're not limited to only being able to EZA one of those characters ever, right? Because technically EZA medals are an infinite farm. Like, you can get infinite amount of them. That's the only problem with the few events in the game where you can only drop the Dokkan Awakening or EZA medals by mission clear, is that it limits the amount of times you could actually EZA that character, which obviously isn't a problem for like 99.9% of the player base, but for those hardcore collectors that really, really want to like max out every version of every unit, then maybe that would be something you'd want to be able to do over time, right? So yeah, having like a currency where you could pick up additional copies of these things in the future would be great. And then I would say like, maybe it'll be a thing like the medals for that EZA don't show up in the shop until like a later period when like the next, like, you know, EZA area comes out. That way you couldn't just farm up the currency to buy the medals, but you would first have to do the missions and the currency for extra. I don't know. There's a lot of things they can do. I've been spending way too long on this first bullet point, but yeah. So I think that it definitely needs an overhaul. I want to see a lot of the ancient systems like that go away. That was the reason why I explained that so deeply. It's because some of this other stuff on the list I think reflects that, and I'll be able to talk about it in short because I'll just refer to kind of what we were talking about here, right? With other things that may exemplify the same problems. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is a crafting system for skill orbs. So, you know, as you know, we've got like millions and millions of skill orbs at this point. This list just goes like for absolute ages. You know, this is just from years and years of chain battle and, you know, Super Battle Road, Extreme Super Battle Road rewards, any of the various like category exclusive skill orb dropping events, some of the story events like the Universe 6 event and the Shadow Dragon Saga event that give us you know, like a chance per day at dropping skill orbs. There's just so many. And then all the secret treasure chests, obviously. But yeah, there's just way too many. And this is with most of my characters that are like, you know, top tier, brand new Dokkan Fest hype characters, whatever, or good banner units that I do use. Most of those characters are like fully invested with really good, you know, with really good equipment. There's just so much of this that's never, ever going to be used by me. So if we go ahead and select by level, let's just look at 1, 2, and 3, right? Obviously, like 7, 8, and 9, and even 6, there really isn't like that many of those orbs. Those are pretty much like specific ones they give out for like specific characters for an anniversary headliner or whatever. But usually 4s and 5s are what I target as being like the really good ones. If it's like a new Dokkan Fest unit or something, I'm only putting level 4 and 5s on them. So 1, 2, 3 are the more useless ones. 3s, sometimes I'll put on like free-to-play characters or like some side banner unit that I'm just using for like one burst mode one time or something like that, right? But 1s and 2s are absolutely basically useless to me. So let's go ahead and take a glance here. Look at how many there are that are in that level range. I am literally never going to use any of this, and there's just so much of it. It is endless. So if we had a crafting system where I could take multiple of these, put them together, I don't care how bad. The thing is, people have been able to collect so many of these over time. The crafting system could be atrocious at first, and it would still be better than what we have. It could literally be like you need to feed in like, let's say it would like divide by 10. You could feed in up to like 20 at a time together, and it would divide them by 10. So let's say you put like, I don't know, like whatever levels, right? Like, okay, let's say, like, you put in, okay, so you have 10 level 2 dodges that you put in together. Then all of a sudden, that would put you at level 20 dodge. It's going to divide it by 10 and give you, like, a level 2. Well, I guess that's what you went in with the 2. So you would have to put in 20 level 2 dodges in order to get 1 level 4 dodge. I could see them doing something stupid like that. I imagine it wouldn't be quite that bad. It would probably be, like, combine 4 to make, you know, level up or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. There's a million different ways. Obviously, there's crafting systems like this in countless other video games. They could emulate something else, some other type of system that already exists. I am not like a huge gamer myself, especially when it comes to like you know, like open world RPGs or like fantasy adventure style games. And that's typically where you would see these types of crafting systems. So I haven't really used them much. My extent of usage in a crafting system is in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies. There's the gobblegum items that you get to use and collect that do operate similarly, where they're like one-time use items and stuff, and then you can actually like roll for them on a little gachapon machine. It's like a bubblegum machine, right? And then as you get multiple of them, you can combine them together to create better gobblegums that have better abilities for you to use while you're playing. So yeah, I really think that that's something that they need to touch on. This has just like gotten out of hand at this point. What I don't want to see is them make it so that, oh, all of a sudden there's a way that you can crap the, you know, junk pile the ones you don't want in order to return for some amount of currency to re-roll for better ones. That is not what I want to see. If they do the red coin effect to this, that is not a good thing. So, the red coin effect, right? When they dropped red coins, they made it so that when you summon a unit, as long as you have that unit rainbowed, then you can exchange it for red coins. And when you do, you'll get 3 red coins in bonus. So basically, it's the same thing. You're summoning as you earn red coins, and then if you don't get the units you want, you can just exchange them for more red coins to be able to get the units you do want. So I would hate for them to be like, oh yeah, not satisfied, you can take 10 pieces of equipment that you have and sell them right here for 1 ticket, and then that will give you a way to buy another, like, you know, Whis item or like do another roll on the treasure chest. No, absolutely not. That's just going to deplete your currency. You're going to be getting rid of the crap ones at a slower rate than you're getting the tickets back to get better ones, and you're still going to be pulling more crap ones with the tickets that you've been converting and stuff. It's just going to be like a horrible system. Because of the way that they have made equipment so hard to get in like massive amounts ever since Chain Battle went away, I think rather than giving us ways to try to get more, they need to just make it so that we have something to do with all of the bad ones. That's really, it's so important at this point. Oh my goodness. Just out of curiosity, we might as well see, since we looked at how extensive this is, let's look at how extensive the top part is. I guess let's do 6+. There's probably gonna be like none in here, right? Oh, okay, it's a lot of the bronze ones because the stat ones go up above that a lot. And then I guess there's like, these are probably character specific. Yeah, there's a lot of ones that are character specific, but they had multiple options. So these are just the extra ones that I'm not using on them already. But yeah, there's basically nothing here. And then for 4 and 5, even for the ones like I'd use a lot. Like, see, okay, there's still, for 4s and 5s, there's still this many. Like, can you imagine how cool it would be? Some of these ones that it's like, okay, I'm not really going to use, like this right here. Okay, what's this? This is a crit level 1 and a super attack boost 4. I'm never going to use that. But if I could combine it with whatever this is, what is this? This is a crit 4 and a super attack boost 1. So what if I could combine those together, and then it would like average out and be like, okay, you have a crit 1 and a crit 4, so that takes you to crit 5, so now you have crit 3 or something. And then does the same thing with super attack boost. 4 and 1, okay, so it's 3. And then now you have a 3/3 that you can put on something. I would maybe do that. Right? Like, just being able to level these up even a little bit would be very nice. So yeah, I think there's a lot they could do with that. I hope to see something like that come in the future. Okay, next thing I want to see... Oh, okay, yeah, this is a big one. Ultimate Clash needs... Oh no, I can't actually show it because it ended yesterday, so they're maintaining working on the new one. No. Okay, well, we've all played the game mode. We all know how Ultimate Clash goes. So the thing with Ultimate Clash is they make you set up a box, a character box, and then it's just like a tag, right? So you're gonna have all these characters on, you know, in your box. This is everything you're able to select, right? Like, it's like, okay, these are all the units that you have to choose from for your you know, experience, for your Ultimate Clash experience. Now, good luck remembering what teams you built. This is why people use type teams, right? For two reasons. One, because every fight is one phase, so you only have to deal with one typing, which means you can easily get yourself to have a full, you know, stack of units on a team that all have type advantage. So that's the main reason to use a specific type team in this battle, but also because it's impossible to remember what teams you brought, unless you bring 10 teams where it's Super AGL, Extreme AGL, Super Tech, Extreme Tech, Super Fizz, Extreme Fizz, Super Int, Extreme Int, right? Doing that, then that allows you to come into the box, and as you're going to build a team, you go, okay, it's time for Super AGL because I'm facing an STR enemy, and then you pick the 7 units that you selected as your Super AGL team, and it's really easy to remember which team you built. But I think it would be much easier if they were to just make it so where when you're selecting all of the units that you're going to bring into battle, instead of just selecting a big box worth of units and having a big list of 112 units to choose from, they should make it where you pre-build your teams. So 112 units, how many teams is that even? 112 divided by 7, times 7. Wow, look at me go. Divided by 7 equals 16. So it's 16 teams that you can bring in if you want to fully max out the roster that you're allowed to have. So just make it where there's 16 team slots, and then you have to build your 16 team slots and then go in, right? And obviously you could build less. Like, it doesn't make you take the full 112 to go in and attempt in the first place. But yeah, so just make it so that there's 16 different team slots you can build, which would be slightly different than these team slots. You can't just rely on these team slots. And this is another thing I've tried to do in the past where, like, okay, let's say, you know, team slot 5 here, you use all 10 of these, and these are all, like, Ultimate Clash teams that you have pre-built. The problem is there's only 6 slots here ready for characters, and every single one of your teams you built in Ultimate Clash, you're not using a friend lead. So there's no other place in-game to build a team with 7 units. You literally can't do it anywhere. There's no functionality for this at all, anywhere in the game. They need to add it to that game mode so badly. But if they did do that, then that would mean you have no restrictions at all for your team building. It would be really easy to figure out the ways to build your teams, because you wouldn't have to specifically focus on typings, because you're not like trying to remember what teams you need to have built later. You could just build the teams, and then they're already pre-built, and then you just select them as you go. Some of them could be more heavily geared towards certain typings, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna build like a pure and hybrid Saiyans team with physical, you know, physical God Goku, and there's going to be a lot of physical units on there, mostly physical units. Then you could utilize that team for a point in the fight where you come across an int enemy, and you're like, oh, I have a lot of physical units on this team. Let's pick this team for this battle. Or, you know, specifically, you know that, like, one type of team has a bunch of characters that have passives that activate. Like, okay, for instance, if you're doing, like, some type of tech team, and you end up having like God Goku and Tech Caulifla on there, and then you end up fighting a universe or like a pure Saiyan enemy, right? Then both of them are gonna have their passives active. That's a good time to select that team and put them on there, right? But yeah, I think Ultimate Clash would be a lot more fun if they were to organize it for us in that way. I think it would also be a little bit easier to build your teams, because if you built one team, the same way when you try to sell a unit that's currently attached to a team, it tells you that that team is like in a deck, and it won't allow you to do anything with that unit. That would be cool if they did the same thing here. So you build one team, okay, we put Glorio on the team, great, and now we go to build team number 2. Now in the box, if Glorio's there, it'll show in deck, so that you know you can't select him again for a new team. And then you just be able to build your 16 and be donezo. They gotta add that. They gotta add that. I've been talking about this one for years. That is definitely a huge one. Okay. Next up is, we'll touch on the World Tournament. Again, same problem with Ultimate Clash. World Tournament's not live right now, so I can't actually jump in and, like, rant about these things while playing it. But autoing the map would be nice in World Tournament. With the Piccolo Jr. strategy that we get to use these days, World Tournament is pretty effortless. There honestly isn't, like, you know, there really isn't too much to it. It's kind of just, like, load into the fight, use the Piccolo Jr. active skill, and then jump out. Oops, no Piccolo Jr. for one turn. Okay, Ghost Usher, and then just select orbs, and someone's gonna AoE, and it's fine, and you're done, right? Like, it's It's become very brainless. I can get away with doing a lot of other stuff while I do World Tournament now. Granted, you know, like, it just doesn't cost the same, like, mental energy that it used to. I feel like if you were paying attention to something else while you were playing World Tournament, you were very liable to get KO'd accidentally. But it's just so uncommon to get KO'd because of Piccolo Jr. at this point. It's so brainless what you're doing in the World Tournament that, like, the only problem is the amount of time between every time you have to click on the screen. The longest break you get when you're doing the World Tournament is while Piccolo Jr.'s active skill is proccing, which takes about 7 seconds. So it's, and then besides that, you're constantly clicking, right? Because you click to, let's see, you click to participate, you click to select which team you want, you click to select, like, begin on preliminaries, it tells you, like, how much stamina the stage is going to cost, then you go in. And then from there, it loads the map. Now you have to click the bubble that says which space your character goes to, and then you wait a couple of seconds for the other enemies to go, and then you have to navigate your character there, because on the freaking labyrinth maps of the World Tournament, you constantly have to choose whether you're going left, right, forward, back, so you're always selecting yourself around the map. Then once you enter into a fight, you quickly swipe for Piccolo Jr., you get 7 seconds to wait for him to be done with his skill, then you go back to the map, and then you rinse and repeat, and then once you KO, you have to constantly tap through all the result screens showing you that you won, that you got all these points, whatever, and then it brings you back to the home screen, and now you participate again to go back into the semifinals. There's never a moment where you're not fully just constantly clicking. If they were to auto the map, this would make it a lot easier, because now you would just click, click, click to get into the battle, and then once you're actually in the battle, you don't have to do anything until you're in the fight. That's going to save you like 12 clicks, because you don't have to select the bubble at the bottom, you don't have to select which direction your character's going, you don't have to select, you know, yes, I want to battle this character, instead of just passing through them and continuing to count numbers on the map. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You don't have to worry about the direction that you're going to move so that you force the enemies not to fight each other and take even longer with those little passive animations of them battling back and forth with each other that you can't do anything about. Like, you could just ignore all of that and just let it auto itself and then just swipe up when the battle starts. Like, ugh, I really, really hope they do that. The reason it would be bad that they do that, though, is because then that means that the skill cap would go up again, right? Prior to Piccolo Jr., the highest amount of points we ever saw for a World Tournament was like below 80 million, and now it's over 1 billion because of how much quicker you can move with him on the team. And I think that that's maybe gonna be true with auto. Basically what it does is it's kind of like raising minimum wage. What it's gonna do is it's gonna bring the lowest closer to the highest, right? Because the people that are already grinding at the highest level aren't going to be able to do it any quicker, because putting on the auto isn't going to, like, just make it quicker to do. It's just going to make sure that you don't have to be as attentive toward it, right? But the people that are being attentive anyway are going to probably be able to do it even a little bit quicker than auto would, because they can make efficient decisions that auto wouldn't be able to do. But what it means is that all the characters that are at the very low end that are grinding super slow because they don't have the ability to auto it are going to be able to move faster. So it's just going to help the percentage of the player base that really just wants to get their 20 wins, get their 23 million points and get out, you know, earn their characters and be on their way. So yeah, I think that the autoing the map is definitely a worthwhile change for the World Tournament. Also, as a little asterisk, I wanted to include in here a Tournament of Power mode. I do wonder if this is something that they plan to do. I know it's something people have talked about for years, but obviously, as we have seen Dragon Ball Super become farther and farther a thing of the distant past, as well as, you know, just like the continuation of more and more World Tournaments existing over time, people have kind of given up on the idea of a Tournament of Power mode. But I think it could be cool. One thing to note is that they're not releasing new cards for the World Tournament anymore. Every 4 or 5 World Tournaments, there's a new LR. But other than that, they're not releasing any new like SSRs every time. They're just easy-aing all the ones that currently exist, right? Like Dokkan Awakening them and easy-aing them. So it is possible we're eventually going to run out of content to be giving during the World Tournament, and I'm thinking that that means once every single character is Dokkan Awakened and then Easy-Aid, and we're done with our roster, I'm pretty sure that's going to mean the end of the World Tournament. I would assume that means the end of the World Tournament, and then I think maybe they could be completely revamping, rehauling it, and replacing it with some mode that could be like a Tournament of Power mode. I think it's going to be too speculative for me to get into like what a Tournament of Power mode could look like, so we'll completely skip that. But yeah, I think that could be cool. I guess the one little thing I will say about it is that I believe there are about 72 I want to say the number 72, if I remember from a video I made like a year ago. 72 units that are named characters from the Tournament of Power that are not in Dokkan, not represented in Dokkan in any way. Yeah, so that would give them the opportunity to release a lot more new named characters if they did have a mode focused around that. Okay, next bullet point I want to go over here is better rewards for Easy A stages. Yeah, so the fact that you can grind all of these Easy A stages up all the way to 999, it is the infinite Zenny farm, right? It is so nice that there is a stamina-less way to earn Zenny, because Zenny is something you use for absolutely everything as you're progressing your account. So it is nice that Dokkan provides us with a way to make sure that any player at any point does have the way to collect Zenny without having to spend Dragonstone resources on stamina, right? So Zenny's nice. The one thing in addition that would be nice to see is power level. I think if it's deserved. I think you should also I think you should get power level every time you play a stage anyway, just for any time on anything. And oh yeah, and there's actually a way that they could calculate this. Now that I'm thinking about it, they're already tracking all of these numbers, right? Because on the subpage, they'll tell you exactly how many times you've played any stages. Are Easy A's on here? They're not. But obviously those are counted because literally every single Easy A stage has a number on it. So they are counting the exact number of stages you've done. That's easy to calculate, right? But yeah, if you were to get points for every single stage you've done, they are keeping track of that, right? So that's interesting to think about. But yeah, a power level definitely could be nice. Obviously, you know, right now, power level is still 100% dependent on how willing you are to link level grind. And other than that, you just don't get power level, really. But I think it could be really, really cool to see it added. Now, anytime we're talking about adding power level to something new, this is kind of a touchy subject, because what they have to avoid doing, and I'm not just saying this because of my own personal bias, they have to avoid making it so that link levels are now irrelevant to the power level system. For instance, if they were to make it overnight, where now you get 1,000, you know, you get, or let's even say you get 100 power level for every Easy A stage you clear. If they were to do something like that, and then just overnight, now there's a bunch of players who had, you know, well, first let's do the math on that. So 100 per stage times 999 is maxing out one of them. You're going to get basically 100,000 power level. So someone that's completed, let's say they have 35 of them at 999. Now they just got a free 3 million power level that, well, actually, that is kind of balanced. In my opinion, that's balanced, considering the game didn't give you a heads up about it, basically, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is that the power level leaderboard should not be absolutely flopped overnight because they updated the way that you earn power level, right? I don't think that it should be, oh, something all of a sudden is so much more valuable than link levels. Like, the worst thing they could possibly do, the absolute worst thing, is lower the amount of points you get per link, and then reduce the amount of power level that certain people have that have already gotten these links at the 1,000 level thing, right? I feel like that's why they can't ever reduce that, because it takes away from players who have already spent toward earning that thing, right? That's not really fair. It's like, that's like them releasing a unit. Everyone summons for the unit because it's broken and they see the kit and they know how good it's going to be. And then after they've already spent their money on it and summoned for it, they nerf the character. Right? And like, and if it was a dual Dokkan Fest, they nerf the one character that was obviously better and then make the other one better. That's what it would be like if they added power level to Easy A stages, but then they made it so that the people who have been grinding Easy A's can earn so much power level that they actually have higher power level than people who've been link leveling all this time. That should not be the case. I think that because of the way that they started with this thing, it pretty much can never be that link leveling doesn't have a huge impact on it. And I think if they were to do little things like that over time, so I think what I just showed there was a really good example. 100 power level per Easy A stage cleared. And then now you're going to be able to earn an extra couple of million. So it's not going to be quite enough to get you, you know, based on time-wise. If you've spent the past 2 years just link leveling or the past 2 years just playing Easy A stages, they're still giving you a bigger bonus for link levels, but then you get something for EZAs, and it's not complete waste, right? That would be nice. That would be nice. I think the one reason they really haven't done that yet is because EZAs don't cost any stamina, and they, it seems like, want power level to be limited behind limited resources, right? Hidden potential nodes that you can invest is limited based on, because potential orbs are a limited obtainable currency that you can't infinitely farm. Technically, because obviously there's some free-to-play cards that have free orbs that you can just grind in story events, but the problem is you can't invest an infinite amount of orbs into one singular character. You can only invest enough to rainbow them, and then you have to get a new character. So technically, even in that case, you're limited by your box space. Which is also true for the amount of links you can have at max level. You're limited by your box space because it's only keeping track of the links that are currently in your box. So if you sell a unit, you lose the power level. Stages cleared. Again, this is only clearing stages for the first time, so you're limited by what new content releases and what stages are available for you to play in the first place. And then Dokkan Awakened characters, you're limited by your box space. So they do limit everything. With EZAs, you're limited by the number of EZAs that there are times 1,000, which is currently mathematically impossible to have completed. No one's done it. So, like, it's essentially infinite. And on top of that, you're not limited by stamina usage or anything because you can just play them infinitely. You're limited by if the game goes in maintenance or not. That's basically it. So, yeah, I think that's the one reason why they've held off from doing that, and that does make sense, but I still think it's deserved. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about, this is what I will say is not a pipe dream. This, for me, whether the new Dokkan, Dokkan 2 update is a success or not, is all dependent on this right here. This needs to be updated. This is one of the biggest things that is still wrong with Dokkan Battle. This is an ancient way to see the game operating. The challenge tab is ridiculous. There are just so many thousands of events in here. On top of, like, legitimately, it's bad enough that, like, okay, so first let's talk about, we've got all these Dokkan events in here, right? The Dokkan events themselves, I don't even think should be put in a list anymore, just because there's so many of them, right? I think that it should be, like, a grid, maybe? Kind of the way that, like, the support memory thing works. Like, there should be a tab for Dokkan events, and then once you open it up, you have an entire screen. So here, let's go in here so I can exemplify what I'm talking about. You would open the Dokkan tab, and this would say Dokkan events right here, and then you would scroll through like this and see all of the Dokkan events, and it would have the little, like, whatever picture is, like, headlining on the actual event, like up here. This picture of Raditz would just be on the little icon right there, and then maybe this little logo would be, like, over it at the bottom of the card, or maybe you'd have to tap it to open it. I don't know, whatever. But then you would be able to view them a lot quicker. You'd be able to scroll through them a lot quicker. It wouldn't be as, like, hidden of a list, because here, like, there's so many multiple problems with it. You can just see the little, you can only see like 2.5 of the little character sprites at a time, so you have to scroll through super slow because it's not even showing you the entire screen, like all the way from the top to the bottom, to be able to read a list of like 10 of these. So the list thing is already shitty because you can only see half the screen. And then on top of that, it's a list, which just allows you to view less of them at once. So yeah, that's what they should do with the Dokkan events. And then on top of that, they've got Prime Battles in here. You've got so many different kinds of challenge events with all the red zone stages and all the various events that come out for like worldwide download celebrations and the legendary events. Like, there's just an insane amount of content in here. And then on top of that, you also have all of the Extreme Z battles, like the Extreme Z areas, which I don't think is very right. Like, it just doesn't make sense that all of this stuff is in the exact same spot, right? But yeah, all of these Extreme Z areas are in there as well. I think every single one of these things could have their own tab. You could have all the EZA areas in one spot. You could have all the Dokkan events in one spot. You could have all of the extra, like, challenging events. And they should further subcategorize those challenge events so that there's one space where you click and you get to red zones. And then all the red zones are right there. There's one space you click and then you have, like, the super battle roads, the extreme super battle roads in one spot. Like, I don't know, they could do different things like that, right? I think that there's definitely better ways to organize all this stuff. But yeah, the challenge tab, this is the one place, this is the one thing where that little promo video that shows that the menus look the same that they used to, like the battle results screen, that's what makes me worried that they didn't actually overhaul this challenge tab. But I really, really, really hope they did. Okay, next up, oh, okay, see your login days in-game on your profile. So, yeah, if you log in, oh man, I should have actually saved my daily login for this. So, I can't see, oh, well, okay, this is showing me right here. Okay, the only reason this is still here, so it says Happy New Year, login day 2025. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's from New Year 2025, yeah, okay. I don't have any of them in here then, Shucks. Okay. So, yeah, you can see your login days when you actually get the login, and then it shows, it also tells you the login date on every single one of the gifts that you're collecting out of your gift box. But once you collect it, there's literally zero way in-game to see how many login days you're at until you wait until the next day. I think it should be on your profile. It should absolutely be on your profile. There should be like a button up here or something where you can see like your daily login thing and bring it up. So see your cumulative days and your consecutive login days. And then, honestly, even a way to view the list of rewards that are coming up or that you've received, it would be cool as well. But yeah, that's definitely something cool that they could add. I don't know why that isn't a thing. Okay. Viewing link levels at the end of runs. Oh, yay. We get to do a link level run here real quick. Let's go ahead and just jump into one. So yeah. A problem that we run into kind of all the time with link leveling is that when you jump in, you don't know whether you're done or not. And a lot of people that are actually trying to link level these units, you're doing it on auto, you're not paying attention to your phone, you're just doing something else with your day. A lot of the times, you put your phone down, and when you come back to it, it's already on the battle results screen, because auto is just going to take you through everything. And unless you were paying close enough attention to your phone to be looking at your screen at the moment that it displays those link level ups, you have no idea whether you got any link level ups or not. So while that can be kind of important, just to, it's good information to have if you're boosting your characters, it would be nice if the game told you that happened. But on top of that, especially if you're working on finishing units and then once they're done, removing them from your team and adding someone else, it's very important to know when you've popped those last level 10 links. And I've had many times where it's like, oh, shoot, I haven't checked my characters in 4 hours. And then I go and look and like, oh, yeah, there was three units that actually did finish. If they were to put the link skills at the very, very end of the battle results screen where you can see all of the other spoils you earned in that fight, I think that would be really, really helpful. So let's see here. Yeah, so right here it's going to show us the links we get. Awesome, great. So we got a level 4 on that Vegito. Great, okay. So it would be really, really neat if they just showed it here, where you earn all of your whatever characters you received in battle, the Zenny you got, all of this stuff. Then, right here, one of the things they could show down here, or they could show it up here. It would be the character icon for that STR Vegito, and then it would just show the link. Like, why not? Like, this should just be a scrollable list right here, and it works the exact same way, where you get, like, think about if you've ever done, like, the guaranteed link level up event, where it shows you the character on the left, and then it shows the links they level up, and then the character, and then the links, and the character and the links. Like, just have it a scrolling list that you could scroll up and down through and just see all of the ones you got on whatever level. I think that would be really cool, because then if there's a unit that you're waiting on that only has one level 10 link left, eventually you're going to see that unit sitting right here with the one level 10 link, and then immediately, right away, oh, great, this unit is done. Like, I can, I can take him off the team. Another thing, I think I actually put this one further down the list, but I'm going to talk about it now, because it's relevant. Add an icon for the link level 10 units. So somewhere on the card, like the top left, or, they could figure out somewhere to put it. I'm not sure. They would have to maybe rehaul the way that these little thumbnails work. But there could be like a big circle with a golden level 10 in it or something that tells you that unit is all at level 10 links, which means even if they didn't have the post like battle results screen thing, you would see it right here before you jump back in. You would see the link level 10 icon on the character and know that they're fully finished and have all their links leveled. I think that would also just be another cool way, like same way when you rainbow a card, you have the indicator there that they're at 100% in the dupe system. I think that would be cool to have some type of indicator on the card that they are link level 10. This could also make it quicker for filtering for friends, right? If you're looking for someone that's link level 10 on your friends list, having the actual tag of it on the card, I think would incentivize people to set link level 10 units as their friend leaders to begin with. Okay. So next up, we've got remove the weekly event restrictions. Yeah, that is kind of a thing, right? Now, obviously, this isn't really a thing right now because of, I'm pretty sure we've got, like, all the Dokkan events live and stuff. But yeah, if we take a look down here, they will always indicate the event periods, right? Okay, I shouldn't be doing this with a brand new Dokkan event. Sorry, hold on. Let me do this with an older one. Okay. But yeah, so they always indicate the event periods. So this tells you exactly when they're going to be live. Saturday to Sunday, because this is Super Day. So obviously Piccolo is a Super type Dokkan Fest, so he's going to be available there. And then Monday going on to Tuesday, with the majority of Tuesday being in mind just at the beginning of Monday, because Tuesday is the tech day, and he's a tech type, right? Get rid of this. No. Just make it available always. Just make it available. There's a billion events to play in the game. There's 10 years worth of content. There is no reason why these things should not be available every single day. Now, check this out. The Portal of Memories is available for events that have disappeared and that are no longer like available in game, or that have rotated off and will be coming back at a future point. So this allows you to use keys. Now, this is one downside to the Dokkan events always being available and removing, like, the weekly event restrictions, right? Because then that means that those events are always going to be live, which means they'll never go into the Portal of Memories, and there will never be a time that you could spend keys on them, which for some players is an actual strat, because if you're getting thousands and thousands of keys, you can use these on the events and save your stamina. You don't have to actually use it on those events, and you're still getting experience every time you use keys as well for those events. So you can actually use it as a way, once you run out of stamina, use keys in order to boost your experience, level yourself up, get more stamina, and go back to grinding stamina events, right? So that is the one bonus that we have with the event restrictions. And maybe they could make it a thing in the future where, like, the Dokkan events just have two versions. Like, there's one that sits in the Portal of Memories and stays there, and then there's one that goes and stays live. So you can choose to do it with either resource. Yeah, or maybe it would just be a thing of, like, it would be side by side, right? Like, when you're jumping into a Dokkan event, here, since we're already here, we'll just go to one that's in here. Okay, so when you're jumping into a Dokkan event, you would just jump in, you know, like right here, and then it would give you, like, the key option and then the stamina option, and you'd just be able to use either depending on what resource you want to spend on the stage. Like, I don't know. I think that could be cool. Alright, so the next thing I want to touch on here is the support memory page here. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into an event. Okay, so there's another thing, the same way I was talking about the challenge tab earlier, about how, you know, all of the challenge events, it would be cool if they were, you know, if they were organized more like the support memory page, so that they were just, like, in little icons right here that are a lot easier to select, scroll through a lot more of them quickly, and still be able to see everything, right? Another thing in game that definitely needs that, if we come over here to training, let's say we want to train this guy up, the training locations. This is always so tedious. It is quite annoying when I switch from using, like, one of these two training locations, which are pretty much the only ones I ever use at this point. Because you could just get so many of them from, you know, the Zenny shop that, like, you never really need any other ones if you're constantly buying them. But yeah, like, I always have to scroll to them, and then if you don't want to use one of them, while you're, like, you know, let's say you're raising super attack level or something like that, and you don't need to actually, like, train their levels up, so you don't need to get the extra experience from the training location itself, then yeah, you'd want to have it just set to this one, but sometimes it's all the way up here, and you have to scroll down. It's the most annoying thing ever. So oftentimes what I do, usually my default is I just leave this one selected, and it doesn't matter what training I'm doing, I just leave it on. Because that way, at worst, I only ever have to go up one or down the one, but then I just leave it here. So yeah, I pretty much, I have used thousands and thousands of these training locations unnecessarily. But yeah, they should redo the way that those are set up as well. Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, yeah, so let's... I should have organized this list a little bit better. This list in full is just a compilation of a couple of different videos that I made in the past, as well as some other ideas I had jotted down that I hadn't yet made a video for, just about various changes that Dokkan needed. So I kind of went back through those lists and looked to see what stuff I had previously mentioned, or, you know, like thought of, that still isn't in the game today. And I did actually have to delete some of the stuff off the list because some of the stuff had since been added, so I thought that was kind of cool to look back on. But anyways, so that's why this list is going to be a little bit out of order because it's a compilation of multiple previous lists. So heading back in here to talk about equipment. So aside from the fact that there is just an excessive amount of equipment to begin with, you know, and a lot of it that's like fodder that we're not going to use is one part, but then the other part is being able to actually decipher and differentiate like what equipment you have in your box. It's really, really difficult if you want to just be able to very quickly or easily see and understand what equipment you have at what levels, right? Like with the amount of crap in here, I feel like I need a dang graph. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say I'm going in with the idea that I want, on this Janemba, I want to try and give him a full dodge build, right? So I want to try to get the highest level for dodge. Okay, I can either surf through here and just manually look for everything that has dodge on it and then like double check and see what all of the things are, or I guess we could filter by dodge, right? But you still have to do evasion first, and then so now it's only dodge, but I don't know whether these are level 1 or level 2, so you have to select level, go level 2. I guess this is a fine filter because the bronze slot only has the 2 levels, right? So it's a little bit easier to tell. But I just feel like at a glance, it should be a lot easier for you to tell like what's going on the face of these cards. And then it also comes to, okay, let's say you have 2 different like EX skill orbs here, and you know you have like one of each, right? So you don't have multiples that you can equip or anything. One of them is for like a category specific character, and then another one happens to be for Janemba himself. And obviously you would want to use the one that's for Janemba himself because no other character in the game can use it. It's like specifically for that named unit. But there's nothing indicating that that's the case for you here, so you could just end up using any of the other equipment. So I think it would be really cool if, as an honorary thing to the death of chain battle, we should add the sparkles back to this shop right here, and all of the red and blue sparkles that used to go over your characters when you were selecting them in chain battle to let you know if they were an effective character for that chain battle, or if they were one of the effective category characters, they would get a blue or red sparkle. So I think if it is a skill orb that, you know, is a category specific thing, it should have a red sparkle, and then if it's specific to that character, it should just have a blue sparkle on it. Or if they didn't want to include the sparkles, because that might make the visual a little bit funky, I remember that wasn't people's favorite thing, then include the outline effect that happens when you summon nowadays. So after you finish pulling, when you're seeing all 10 of your units that you just pulled, if you get a Dokkan Fest or an LR, then they will have that glowing ring happening around the outside of the card. Just give those effects here with varying colors that have different meanings, and then I think that would help people decipher a lot easier. And then I genuinely do think that they should not just give the one level on the face of the card that tells you what level it is, but I think that there should be 2 levels that very clearly indicate the level for the crit and the level for the dodge on this, right? It's like separately on the face of the card. That would be very, very helpful if they did something like that. Just rework this a little bit to include that, and then it would be solid. Okay, oh, this is a fun one. Okay, so I think that they should add a bit more depth to the title system here. I think, like, the way it's broken down makes sense and stuff. They could break it down into a few further categories. It's not the most... Obviously, like, titles haven't been a huge focus for them. I mean, they have made some cool ones. They've gotten the idea with... you know, trying to give us the customization for our profile and things like that. They've given us some cool titles with, like, various visual effects and things like that. But, I don't know. As far as the usage of this system, all of this is purely cosmetic, right? The only thing you can do with the title is display it on your profile. It has no other use in the game at all. So I think the incentive is low for people to grind for them, and all of the stuff that the titles require you to do, you're kind of passively doing while you're playing the game anyway. So I feel like there's a lot of players that don't even pay attention to it, especially because you don't get anything from it. But yeah, it would be cool to see the titles give you something additional, like power level, for example, would be the coolest thing ever. That seems like the most obvious gimme. And that's another place where they could really stand to add to the power level system in a way that wouldn't inhibit all the players who have done all of the link leveling that they've done, right? Because the titles are simply achievements, which means, again, you're getting them passively. So it doesn't matter what part of the game you've been playing, you're probably earning these titles. So yeah, I think that would be a really neat thing to help, you know, all players, because everybody has access to the exact same, you know, pool of titles and stuff, basically. Yeah, I think that would be pretty neat. But also, I think that they should show progress bars for them. That would be a nice visual update. So here in the special titles area, when we get down to a certain point, right here. Okay, so at this point, for most of this entire specials title section, all that you have in here is a bronze, oh, I did not mean to set that as my title. I'll have to change that back in a minute. But you have a bronze, a silver, and a gold version of the exact same title, which require you to use a team full of each kind of category. Like, every single category in the game has a thing for this, but you have to use a full team of that category 10 times, 50, or 100 times, and then 300 times. And there's no progress bar at all. So other than, like, earning one of the titles and then the second title, you would know kind of where you're at, but I think it would be neat if they just added, like, a full-on progress thing where when you could actually see, like, you know, the bar to know exactly where you're at, know how much more of them you have to do. And that would be helpful for quite a few things, especially the title that I had set, which is the one I'm going to put back up right now. It is right here. Perform physical super attacks 77,777 times. I believe I was the first person in the world to get this achievement done. The truth was grinding for it really hard for a while until the 3,000 day login achievement came out, and then he decided, because he wasn't going to be getting that anytime soon, and there was nothing he could do to make that happen faster, he didn't really care about grinding for this physical super attack title, and I think he just recently got it, like, last month or something. But yeah, it takes that many years if you're not, like, actively grinding toward it, just because there's so few units in the game that actually do these type of super attacks. So yeah, but imagine, like, not having a progress bar on that and just not knowing where you're at, but actively grinding for it. You would just drive yourself insane. So yeah, that would be a really cool change if they were to add progress bars for the titles. Okay, so now I want to mention the burst mode rewards here. So one of the things that was, you know, previously on my list was the burst mode rewards needed to be better, because the only thing that we used to get from it was, like, a very, very small batch of stones from the missions, maybe, like, a Kai or two, like the very basic mission type of clear, you know, rewards you would see. And then the coins to get the OSTs to place on our profile, and that's it, right? Which now, since I made the list originally, they've obviously added the coins, the burst coins, where you can spend them in the shop and then get equipment, which is actually really cool. And I often spend them on potential orbs as well. So, but yeah, I think it would be cool if they implemented something different with these, where you could use them at more places in the game. I know that I'm pretty sure you have the ability to, like, attach one of these to given teams and things like that. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I think it would be cool if they did a little bit more with this. Also, it's kind of impossible. I don't know if no one really talks about this, because this is, like, a kind of underused section of the game, I guess. But, like, it is weird to me that you can't actually own all of them. Because, like, okay, so I have everything that's not grayed out here. So all of the lit ones I own. And then this is from the Kid Buu Red Zone. I actually just haven't done this, like, purchased it yet. Oh, there's actually 2 in here. Okay, so they probably cost 3,500 each, right? Or 3,000 each. Okay, they're 3,000 each, so I can't actually buy these. I'm gonna do this real quick. So I have the new ones purchased, and then I have 1,000 left over. So, all of these say new on it, but it's just because I did some goofiness. I'm actually helping someone out with a Dokkan account. I have a video coming out about it in a couple of days, but yeah, I had to reset my cache on this account, so it all says new, but I do own all of these. The only one that still has themes is the main one, where they add a new track every time there's a burst mode. This is the problem, because if you get the 6,000 points that you need every time in order to clear the burst mode, then you have just enough to get like the main Dokkan Fest like theme. Any of the ones that have 2, they'll always cost 3,000. Oh, I guess I can't show you since I bought it, but we did just see they cost 3,000. And then anytime there's just one of them, if there is, are they always 2? I thought there were some that just had the 1. I'm pretty sure there are some that just have the 1. Maybe I'm tripping about that. But you do get just enough to buy those. But then there's also one that releases in here. There were a couple of them that were a little bit cheaper, like that had reduced prices of like 500 and stuff. But all of these now, I'm pretty sure they all cost 1,000. So every time you do a burst mode, there's 7,000 coins worth of stuff to purchase, and you're only trying to get 6,000 from the missions. And oftentimes it's basically virtually impossible to get 7,000 points because you have to pretty much max out the sliders to do that. And a lot of those fights are just not built to be able to do that. So yeah, I would guarantee there's no one in the world that has every single one of these. You just haven't been able to earn enough points over time. So yeah, I hope that that is a change that they make too, so that it's actually possible for you to earn all of the rewards that there are to earn, right? Like, hello. And I guess on that same note, I am also going to say the exact same thing about the Ultimate Class Shop. Same exact thing, ditto here. There's way too much that's just been sitting in here for years that no one's ever been able to claim because of all of these ridiculously expensive LRs, and they're not giving us enough currency to make up for it. These are trends I want to start seeing change in Dokkan 2, so that we don't have these ancient ways of gaming. We'll put these away forever. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next thing I want to go over here is, it's kind of an idea for a better or upgraded form of box searching, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but the given problem right now, let's say I'm jumping into an event and I need to use, we'll do like a final trump card team, right? Here, let me go into my character list so that it's not all grayed out for you guys. Okay, so the requirement is that I use all final trump card characters, right? Okay, great. So this is my team building tag. These are all the units in my box I can actually use, since there's so many thousands of extra units that I just use for link leveling purposes and don't actually need. So it clears it up a little bit for me, easier to select units. Okay, great. This is everybody on final trump card. It's still pretty difficult for me to discern who is like gonna be a leader for the team that I want to use and stuff. So for me specifically, I actually built a tag for this. So I have a tag for all of my 200% leaders in the game. So now I can see a little bit more clearly what my options are for team building here. That's just something that I've done for myself. Definitely something that I recommend. I've also thought about making an entire like tutorial guide for the best way to organize your box and tags and everything. I might do that actually. But yeah, so then from here, great, let's say, okay, I want to use, Piccolo Jr. He's the guy that I've decided is best for the job. So now I need to try and find units that are on Final Trump Card, which is the required category for the event that I'm going into, on top of units that are on Gifted Warriors, Terrifying Conquerors, and Giant Form. So now I'm going to further filter my box, but if my options here are partial match or full match. So if I put all of those categories on and do full match, that's going to show me a very, very, very excessively limited view of the characters that are actually available to me, right? Because they don't have to be on all of them at the same time. They just have to be on Final Trump Card and one of them. So then you would do... But if you do partial match, then it will show you all the units that are on Final Trump Card that aren't on Piccolo Jr.'s leader skill and vice versa. So you have to full match with one at a time. And then just go, okay, Giant Form and Final Trump Card, look at, he's the only one, okay? And then go like that from there for all of his categories individually, right? And then just be like, okay, then these are my options for that category. It's just very tedious to do that. And then, on top of all of that, because that's not even the problem that I'm trying to get to, that's just stuff that I think is the fate of the way this game operates, and it's probably something that we're always going to have to deal with. I don't really see there being a solid fix to that kind of a problem. That's kind of metagaming anyway. That's not really Dokkan's fault that exists, right? Because ultimately you should just at that point be using a final trump card leader. So this is kind of where it comes in. They should highlight the units that have a final trump card leader skill for you. So that if you're a newer player, but you have hundreds of units, because it's very easy to pull a lot of units, especially if you start in a big celebration, and there's so many free-to-play stones to go around nowadays, right? Obviously, people are going to get a lot of units very quickly. But yeah, so then, because you're not going to have all these skills memorized and stuff, can we please get the video back? Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so they should highlight the units that do have that leader skill for you so that you know they're available for lead. And then also, I believe it would be cool if there was a way to toggle a unit as your leader. So while you're team building, you when you initially select your leader. Okay, let's actually do this in a team building thing. So let's say I'm on this tag, right? And I'm gonna go build a team here, okay? So we have all these units gone. All right, now I want Piccolo Jr. to be my leader. Great. So now we have put Piccolo Jr. in the leader spot. There should be a little tiny toggle right below him right here that switches on and off. The same way that, like, this switches on and off. There should be a button like that. And what it would do is it would make it so that every unit in the box, you're only seeing the units that are under whatever given leader skill you're using, right? So like for this guy, obviously, you would only see the units on these categories, and then there could be two toggles. One to just show the units that fit on the team, and then the second toggle could be to show units that are only on the 200% leader skill, because that's another thing that is an additional thing you have to pay attention to, is that then are the units on the 200% version of the leader skill. In history, since the beginning of 200% leader skills all the way until now, I have never ever paid attention to them. I will build units that are on their 170% version of their leader skill without factoring in whether that unit belongs on the 200% version, like portion of the leader skill or not. I don't even like factor it in. I don't look at it. In most units nowadays that have come out, like I know what categories all the Dokkan Fests lead, but for a lot of them, I couldn't even tell you what the extra 30% are to. It's irrelevant to me because it's so hard to like actually, without just sitting down and like, you know, mega minding yourself into like building a team. It's just so much extra work. So they definitely need to make that easier by giving us some type of easier way to filter these things in game without just knowing it or checking the cards. Okay, so this is another one that I'm thinking could be. I think we have a pretty solid chance here for this one to change. So it's the enemy sprites. The enemy sprites are really bad. Now, I will admit I am no, like, tech genius or anything like that. Oh, this is perfect. We've actually already got the right team built here. I was ranting to one of my coworkers about this very problem. We were talking about games in general. And so I already loaded up this team on this event to show this specific thing. That's really funny. Okay, so, yeah, the enemy sprites nowadays are just really not, they have fallen so behind. Obviously, it was fine when the game first came out, but the way it operates now is so bad. The enemy sprite is so small. It's this little tiny icon all the way at the back of the screen. And that's the actual size of it, and there's no bigger asset for it built in the game. So when they become a part of the super attack animation and they get pulled forward into the foreground of what's going on, then you don't actually get to, like, they look super pixelated, and it looks really bad. So I'm thinking with the new animated like sprite update thing that they're doing, where these little the little, you know, your character sprites here are gonna have animated stuff. I'm hoping that they also include some updated assets for enemy sprites to fix this pixelation problem. So the reason I loaded up with this team is because one of the best examples I can show you of this pixelation problem is Final Form Cooler here. In fact, what we can do. I forget about this too. We can turn the battle speed down. That way it'll be on screen for a little bit longer too. But yeah, Cooler has some really good close-ups where he shows, you know, where he's like grabbing the enemy by the throat or whatever, and he can actually, yeah, like right here, you can see how pixelated Glorio is. He just looks so bad in comparison. Look at that. He's like 240p compared to the 1080p of Cooler. Yeah, that's just, it's horrible. It's so bad. I think it's, you know, graphically, when you look at a game like Legends versus what we're seeing here, like, I just can't even believe that it's real, honestly. It's so bad. Okay, let's go ahead and speed this back up, and then I will check my next bullet points here. We'll see if it's something I can't just rant about while we let this Dokkan event run play out. Oh yeah, okay. So another thing that I think would be cool is if they added the 50% support units and the heroes units to the general pool. So now this is something that's been obviously an idea for years, because at this point, basically every unit, it's we kind of have like four spaces of units, I guess. It's like all the units that are just rotatingly like available in game, and then you have the heroes units that are only available on heroes banners. You have the 50% support units that are only available on the type banners, and then you have the like Arale units that have been removed and can never be obtained again. Every unit is in one of those four classes. So it's like, we know we're not going to get the Arale ones because it's a licensing thing, so those are probably just never going to return to Dokkan, like boo-hoo, right? And obviously, because of the types of units that they are, if they did return to Dokkan, they would just be in the general pool immediately. So that would be fine. But the heroes units, well, we'll get to that. The 50% support units are still technically available in game. They've just been made very, very, like, unavailable because they're, they never come around. And, we've hoped for years and years that they would, basically every time they release the type banner units again, we think for a little bit like, oh, great, maybe now they'll be returning more often. They finally decided to spend time returning them. Maybe they'll start coming back all the time now. And that just never happens. There's always like years between when they've last returned and when they're here now, right? So yeah, it would be fun to not gatekeep those units away from people, especially the 50% supports, because they are some of the most fun units in the game to use, right? And then the heroes units as well. I think that would be pretty neat if we were to just throw all of Dragon Ball Heroes into the general pool. That could be kind of... I mean, so at this point, the reason why Heroes is a separate discussion is because Heroes actually is done, right? Like, there's no more Heroes... supposedly, there's not going to be any more Heroes celebrations because, the Heroes franchise itself is dead. It's not continuing on. Like, the arcade game is out of service at this point. So if they're not going to be creating any more new Heroes stuff, then we're probably not going to be getting any more Heroes collaborations. And they did actually announce that we did get the last Heroes collaboration. That the last one that we had in November was the last one. But there's still a lot of these units that have to EZA over time, and the Dokkan dev team did communicate that they do intend to give these units EZAs over time. But yeah, I'm not sure what that's going to look like for us. I imagine maybe it's possible they'll tie it in with like the Peppy Gals. Normally we get the Peppy Gals banner, and then we get some like heroine EZAs and stuff. Maybe they could just throw in the heroes EZAs on that time slot, because they're like all blue coin units and stuff. I'm not really sure what they plan to do with this, but I hope that aside from at least just creating the EZA events and making the EZA medals available, they also continue to make these characters available for people to get. Because though they're not, making any new ones, it's still a collection thing that, might as well make them available for other people. So yeah, I think throwing them in the general pool would be nice. And then if you consider the 50% supports on top of all of these heroes units and how big the general pool just is by default these days, I think even throwing the 50% supports in with all of that, those other like 400, 500 units probably by now, if just generic like general pool banner units, then that's still pretty rare. I think that people are still going to have a tough time like pulling them all over time, especially if they never they just make them disappear into the unfeatured pool and they never ever make them featured on anything. Like, that could be a fair kind of thing. Just treat them like the fusions units or whatever, right? Okay. Oh, this is a big one. Oh, I should have pulled up... Okay, I'm a bit unprepared for this one, actually. So, there is a character encyclopedia that is available on the JP version of the game that's not available on global. Now, unfortunately, I did mention a minute ago that I am taking care of somebody else's Dokkan account right now. I am doing that on my second phone. Normally, my JP account is ready to go on my second phone, but because I have an iPhone and you can only update apps that are connected to one app store at a time, I am currently on an American app store, with this global account that I have on here, so I can't I can't actually show like my JP account to show the encyclopedia. But there is a character encyclopedia. It's similar-ish to the Dokkan Awaken tab here, where it kind of is a way of displaying all the units that you've collected over time, right? What the Dokkan Awaken tab shows you, I believe, is the active collection that you have. So this keeps a tally of every single unit that you have, how many you have in awakened to whatever values, and then it gives you the gold once you've awakened them one time, green if you still have unobtained them, and then every unit is listed here. But obviously this only includes every unit that has a Dokkan Awakening. If it doesn't have a Dokkan Awakening, it's not in here. The character encyclopedia had every single unit in the game. It's much more extensive, and it was organized by character. So all of these scrollable buttons would not be a picture of a unit itself. It would just be a picture of Goku. You would click it, open it, and then every single Goku card would be listed right there. And like every single exact named unit would be listed right there. So essentially it kind of operated the same way as like the subpage. And I'm speaking in past tense, but it literally is currently on JP. Like it's always been there and it is now. But yeah, so like Goku, right? Every card that has exact name Goku would be in that tab, and then they would all be, like when you collect Pokemon cards and put them in a binder, they would all be filled out right there, and they all have a specific designated slot within there. So if you had a grayed out, box thing, actually I can show you exactly what it looked like. Man, I am metagaming this so hard by not actually having the visual to show you on Global here. What it looked like was not this, the item thing. Oh, I guess I have to jump in to do it. Fine, I'll jump in. Oh, well, yeah, it looked like this. Like when you had like no item selected or whatever, when it was blocked out. I should have gone into like a red zone event where we would have had one item slot blocked out. But when it looks like that, that's what it's talking about. That's what I was referring to of what it looks like. But if you had like a grayed out box like that, then it meant that you knew there was a character with that name that you didn't own yet, and you could actually show the full completeness of your account. It was really cool. It is really cool. I just wish that we had it on Global. So that would be neat. That would be another way with Dokkan 2 that they could, help assimilate the games a little bit further as far as the sync is concerned, right? Because content is synced, but there still are a lot of differences on the games, and that is one of the most important ones left, in my opinion. Okay, so these last couple that we have are actually very simple, and things that kind of stun me that we don't have. Okay, so the first one here is viewing the previous pixel characters, right? Like, we can't see them anywhere. Like, I leveled him up to 12. When I logged in, I after, like, 2 days after the month started, I checked my profile, and then he just leveled all the way up to 12, and now he just sits here, right? I don't get to enjoy any of the other 1 through 11 levels that I leveled him through. There's no way I can scroll through them. Like, why can't I just swipe this and look through all of them right here? That would be so simple, right? To swipe them here, and then great, it shows the gifts. This should also, I think instead of just being a gift button, this should be like an info button. Like a little hamburger that opens like this and gives you like an entire thing of options and stuff. It should be more like that so that it can show you all the previous pixel characters too. Great, thanks for the little like info on how to get it, and then showing me what my rewards are gonna be at the end of the month when the thing ends. Okay, like look, I can even see an archive of what all of the rewards would have been had I ended at that level, but I can't even see what the pixel character was gonna be for that level. Are you kidding me? That's so dumb, right? Like, yeah, they're archiving the wrong thing. Thanks, I guess. Like, what? But yeah, and then you also can't see the previous pixel character animations, because obviously they've updated the sprite as far as, like, which character it's focusing on and stuff. So yeah, I think that would be really cool if they made all that stuff visible to you. Like, why not, right? Okay, so another bit here is that I think 100 friend slots is pretty under-tuned at this point. 100 friend slots is not quite enough. The friend system in general really still needs to be touched upon. It's not perfect. Obviously they've made a few funky, odd decisions over time that have made it better, right? They did, they did at one point make it so that they have like the ghost friend leaders. So now when you clear an event with a character, it has the chance to just be a permanent like painted friend lead that sits there for some amount of time, and then anyone and everyone has access to it, which means that it works a little bit differently than just the friends on your friends list or on the guest list, where once you use it once, it will still be there and it won't actually like remove itself. So you can have a little bit of a better time. And then it also means that a lot of the strongest teams in the game that have the very common leads that people want to use are just never going to not be available. But it doesn't help when you have some niche random team where no one else is using that same leader, right? You still can run into those problems. Or if you're doing some type of major grind and you need to do the same event, say, hundreds of times, and you're constantly depending on like having the same friend lead to pop up for you, but then occasionally you're running into instances where it's not there. I just think that that's unacceptable. I think especially if you have spent money to earn a character to be able to use them as a leader, that you should at the very least be able to mirror your own leader. Even if you had to pay to do it. Pay friend points, pay a double stamina for the stage, something. Some type of penalty to go along with the fact that you could just mirror your own character and then have it. Or even if it wasn't mirrored, but it'd be the same character and then they set it to be like 55%, all level 1 links, something like that, right? Even if it were that would be fine. But honestly, I think the best thing really would just be to allow you to mirror your own leader. Pay friend points, and then you can mirror your leader instead of earning friend points by using a friend character. Simple enough, right? I think that would be a worthwhile change to make. Oh, but, I was talking about the friend slots, because, aside from them doing, like, the mirroring your lead and stuff, I think another thing that could help is having 1,000 friend slots, right? Because then you could just really load up and grab, like, a chunk of whatever, type of leaders you want and just have, like, pools of people that have the right kind of leads that you want. And I feel like just the fact that a lot of people do fill up their friend slots and then need to delete and remove people in order to make room for other people, it's just kind of a feels bad, right? Like, they're our friends. They're not our freaking box. They're not Baba food. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, just give us 1,000 friend slots. Like, I don't know if that's maybe like a server space issue or something. I'm not enough of a techie to know anything about that, but I would have to assume that there's got to be some type of technological problem in their way, if they haven't just done that by now, right? So yeah, kind of interesting. Okay, and then the very last point that I want to touch on before we move on here is maybe a rank cap increase. So, right now, obviously, it's at 999, and there is a large portion of the community that is dedicated to this game who have reached 999 at this point, and I think it's about time that we added that extra 9 on there. I think people are ready to start grinding into the thousands, definitely. And here's the thing. They could do it 2 ways. So, they could either release an update saying, congratulations, the max rank is now going to be 10,000, grind your way up there, everybody get a move on, and then everyone's at rank 999, and we all just, the gun fires, and we all sprint into the wind for the next 15 years while we try and grind ourselves up to max rank again. Like, they could do it that way, though. I think that would be a bit of a feels bad comparative to doing it a different way, which is where when they release the update, they account for all of the experience that you've earned since the moment that you reached 999, and they gift it to you and give you your accurate rank in that moment. I think that could be so sick. Like, so sick. Even if it were a thing... Okay, so one thing that immediately kind of becomes a problem here is... Some people might ask, like, oh, do they even know that information? Do they even, like, does the account even track it? I guarantee it tracks it. This account tracks everything. It tracks the amount of times you've played every stage, the amount of times you've used every unit, right? They've showed us at certain live events or fan meetups and stuff that they're tracking, like, the highest power levels. They've tracked cumulative stats, like how many Cybermen the entire community has killed. over time, right? Like the entire Dokkan community and the entire world on either the JP or the global side, like they're keeping track of every little possible stat. So I'm sure that your account somewhere deep inside of itself knows exactly how much extra experience you've earned on top of when you hit 999. So yeah, I think that would be really cool. The other thing that might be called into question is now that, you know, every time you rank up, you get a fresh stamina bar and then it rolls over and gives you the extra. That could be a huge problem, right? If someone's going to be immediately gifted 3,000 level ups, giving them 3,000 stamina bars and an ever increasing a max amount of stamina that would continue to go up as well. They would probably be at just like such an, you know, redonkulous amount of stamina. I imagine if they did an update like that, they would have to make it a thing where it's like, congratulations, you've been, you know, you grinding Dokkan for a long time. Here's all of your experience. Here's your new max rank. Go flex it. But we are not giving you the stamina. You are going to start with 1 full bar of stamina, and then we'll move on from here, right? I think that would be a very, very fair compromise, because the people that would be getting the biggest shaft in that scenario, as far as the stamina is concerned, the stamina that would have quote-unquote been stolen from them, the the flip side of it is that they're being gifted the rank that sets them ahead of everyone else, right? So I think that's worthwhile for sure. All right, so yeah, that's everything that I have to rant about. I am done talking. Holy moly, we have been going for a while here. So yeah, I am excited for Dokkan 2. Let me know if there's anything you guys are excited to see in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and it's just gonna be a few short days. Peace.